Hello and welcome. How's everybody doing? So here's what I want to talk about today. Of course, I'm going to bring up the fact that I'm going through decks because it's ongoing. I'm not done. So, and I have gotten a few messages where people are asking me, "Are you done yet? Like, where are you at? I want to see what it looks like. Or what Are you going to share are you going to share what you're left with at the end?" And I thought to myself, well, you know what? From the requests of how many people want to see what I end up keeping, I think I'm edging towards perhaps making that video when I'm done. Today I want to talk about the decks that always make the cut and how it ties into this process I'm going through and how it's affecting me. So going through my decks has been now a 2-month process. A little over 2 months, I think it's a little over 2 months. No, I don't do it every day because I have a job and I have family responsibilities and other things and honestly there's other things I'd rather be doing. But when I feel pulled to it, when I feel called to it, I'll be like, that's where I'll be. I'll be at my bookshelves with my decks and I'll be working through them. And I go through them again. And whenever I go through them, there's at least one more that I'm ready to let go. And today I want to share the ones. There's 3 that I know I'm not going to let go because it ties into where this process is beginning to take me. And this process is beginning to take me back to basics. So I don't know if I mentioned it before recently in a video, but I'm starting another depth year. And I'm starting another depth year. And I'm not one of those people that I learned from my first depth year. I can't do, cold turkey is not how you do a depth year. You have to slip into it like a warm bath. And so that's what I'm doing. I started in October, and I guess that's where the culling of decks came up, right? The release, my word of the year, release. That's where it began, right? In earnest. And it's part of the slipping into the warm bath of the depth year because, to be honest, I've learned from experience, from having done a depth year in 2019, that I am a depth year person. To me, a natural state is depth year, and going wide is something that I do occasionally. So, okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about why I'm here today. Going through my decks, of course, as I weed out the ones that are there because of FOMO, because of hype, because of fantasy self, then you start to be able to, or I started to be able to clearly see where my interests lie. Well, where do my interests lie? They lie in 3 chief areas, and this is not tarot. This is what I'm talking about, like subject matter. My interest lies in astrology, animal medicine, and any kind of earth-based, nature-based spiritual practice. So, let me begin. This process of culling decks then brought me to cull my books. And I mentioned in a previous video that I have boxes of books that are going to be going away. And it's just because, there's books they're like people, right? I have books on my shelves. I don't feel a compulsion to declutter my bookshelves in the same manner as decks and other objects in my home. There it's different. My library is curated. My library reflects me, my interests, where I've come from, and hopefully where I think I'm going. But it's not just a metaphysical library. It's literature and cooking, and I have other interests. Anyway, but the whole culling of decks also ties in with a malaise and an ennui. And when you've been practicing magic, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it, for a very long time like I have, you could, you occasionally you slip into a rut. Or occasionally what happens is that it's so much part of you that it's, the whole point of the exercise really is that your practice becomes part of you and part of your life. But then it gets to a point where, it's not shiny and new anymore. And those of you who've been practicing a long time will know what I mean by shiny and new. Those of you who just started, you know what I mean. It's all shiny and new, and it's very exciting. And you're out there and you're buying all the herbs and all the crystals and all the tchotchkes and all the stuff. And it's a rush. It's amazing. I'm at that place right now where I've been practicing a long time, and I'm looking for not to start over, because that would be the equivalent of being my age and wanting to look like I'm 20 again. You know what I'm saying? Or do the things that I did when I was 20. It's more of like a renaissance of practice. A practice renaissance. A metaphysical renaissance. So, I began by first weeding out books from my library that I felt that they've served their purpose and now they're going to move on, and someone's going to be like freaking excited to come across them and add them to their library. And at the same time, it helps me see the books that I own that I would really like to revisit. My gateway. So I'm not going to talk about cartomancy, because cartomancy, for as long as I've been reading words, I've been reading cards. So that cartomancy is not part of this discussion today. But my gateway metaphysical subject was astrology. The second I picked up my first astrology book, which now lives in this crazy thing cover, and here's what it looks like, because of course I have to have a spare cover because this one's disintegrating. A spare copy, sorry. This one's disintegrating. My spare copy actually is on the shelf there. This one's going to a dear friend. And from the moment I picked up this book, I was coming of age in the 80s and had a voracious appetite for reading anything having to do with the 50s and 60s. Like when it, 50s and, mid-century popular culture was totally my subject matter. It's like I ate everything up. And this book combines both. It combines 1960s, to some degree, counterculture, but 1960s culture and a little bit of counterculture and astrology. And this captured my imagination like no other book in my library. Like no other book before, like prior, and no other book afterwards. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to spend some time with this book because I'm going back to basics. My depth here is not just going to be about going deep into my interests, but it's really about going back to basics, because where I began is where I'm going to find myself. And where I find myself is where I can then pick up and move forward. So, first one, Linda Goodman Sun Signs. This one, I think because it's so old, I'm almost certain it's available like free on the internet. I think it's in the public domain. You can actually look it up. I think there's a PDF copy. However, beware. There is an updated version of this where they update the popular culture, and it kind of reads weird. You got to read the original. The original is gold, people. It's absolutely gold. And it's, look at her, Linda Goodman. So this is a book I'm going to revisit and spend a lot of time with. Look at my original one. Look at that. Oh my God. Love it. I'll get to the decks. I just want to talk about the books. Then So I cleared out again. I'm going through my shelves, and you can't see the top shelf, but the top shelf is half empty. And I found tucked away at the back of that book, of that, to the far left of that top bookshelf, this thing, The Complete Astrology. Yeah, The Complete Astrologer. The Complete Astrologer. This one I think is still in print, but you could see, if you don't know how old I am, well, I've already told you many times if you watch me how old I am, but this tells you pretty much how old I am. This is the second after my Linda Goodman Sun Sign. This was the second book I got on astrology. Oh, people, I spent hours just enthralled with the subject matter, and it's a picture book, right? Who doesn't love a picture book? Now the point of my video isn't for you to go out and try to track down all these old books. The point of my video is go to your own library, if you've been practicing a long time, and track down your gateway drugs, your gateway subject. Track down those first books you read. They don't have to be valid today, because that's a whole other conversation. You know what I mean? This whole thing about validity and metaphysics, but anyway, or validity having to do with witchcraft or whatever. I'm going straight. We're going straight for the nostalgia, straight for the what got you excited about this stuff in the first place. The next book I'm going to share with you, I'm pretty sure this one is still in print. Doesn't look like this because mine's like from, let me see when mine is from. Let me look up the date, because I need to know these things. Oh my god, I love how the pages are yellowed. Okay, so mine is copyright 1982. This one is from 1990. And it's the only astrology book you'll ever need. And it says, cast your own chart. Now, I know that later editions of this, I read or heard, later editions came with a CD-ROM. And now I don't know if they come with anything. I guess they come with some kind of online resource. You could cast your own chart online, people, but be aware that those free apps online, they're not always accurate. And just because they all match doesn't mean that they're accurate, because if you go to different sites, you're using the exact same app. Because this one, I cast my own chart with this book, and it still beats anything that a professional did for me using the same app. I cast mine using a book with the charts in the back. I did it old school, people, old school. And the free apps online and the paid for apps all say Moon and Libra. My personality in this book, and an astrologer from back in the day in the 80s, my moon's in Scorpio. There's no arguing that. But anyway, so that's why I said be aware that, depending where you get your information from, there may be slight differences or whatever. And this book, again, my decks, they come, they go, especially recently, they come, they go, they're gone, right? But my books, they stay forever for the most part. The ones that I'm moving along are mostly like more current, like probably more current books and stuff like that, and some real old ones that are outdated. But yeah, so I'm going to be spending some time with this book, because you know what? I remember, you can't bring back an old feeling. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm trying to say is, in a video months ago, I mentioned how I miss that intimate relationship I had with my tarot deck when I only had one. Well, I miss my relationship with certain with certain subjects when I had favorite books that I just read over and over and over again, because there wasn't the constant input from the internet. There wasn't Amazon where you look up a subject and like there's 600 books on that subject. You went to a store, there were 3 books on the shelves, 3 books or something on the shelf on the subject. You brought it home and you developed a relationship with a book, whether or not it was the best book on the subject. And what's missing, I find, from my experience today, is that these kind of books are flawed. Of course they're flawed, but they were jumping off points for me that took me further. And that's where I want to get back to. I want to get back to I want to start over where I can and go further. So take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward. So that's the headspace that I'm currently in. I don't even know if any of this makes sense, but I have to tell you, what it's doing for me is it's making me interested in my favorite subject matter again. And it's making me interested in metaphysics and magic and the occult. And I'm a magic and occult person. I practice, like, my spirituality and my interest in the occult are completely 2 different things. They're 2 sides of the same coin. That is me, but they're 2 completely different things, because my interest in the occult and metaphysics and magic is kind of, it has a pseudoscience kind of flavor to it. It's a magic flavor. It's a balance of light and dark flavor. I don't view it as one big blob of. That's why I never call myself pagan, because I'm not really pagan. So I don't know if that made any kind of sense whatsoever. Probably not. The next thing I want to share with you is that, well, since I'm going to be revisiting astrology from the standpoint of where I began, where I started from, not where I am now, and I can't unlearn what I've learned from what I've read and experienced and all this stuff. I can't unlearn, but I can go back to the beginning and now reread this stuff and revisit it through the lens of someone who's been immersed in this subject and since, like for 40 years is what I'm trying to say. All right. Decks that keep making the cut and stay, and they will always stay, consist of 3 that are on the subject of astrology. One of them is recent, one of them is a little less recent, and one's a golden oldie. All right, so let's start with a more recent one. And a more recent one would be, oh, that's surprising. Okay. I had them in the wrong order. A more recent one. That surprised me. Okay. How many times do I have to repeat? A more recent one. I sound like a broken record. How old do you have to be to even understand what a broken record is? All right. Black Moon astrology cards. I got these because of the negative reviews I read. The negative reviews. These came with beige borders. Big beige borders. Oh my god. I think this is Blue Angel. Is it Blue Angel? Yeah. These came with big, ugly beige borders on this side. Did I say big, ugly beige borders? Did I tell you about the big, ugly beige borders? Okay. I trimmed them. I edged them, the dominant color of each card. So each card is edged with the dominant color on the card. And by any, this is computer generated art. Not just computer generated, but also collage and, you know, this kind of stuff. This should totally not be my thing. But this, and I'm trying, I think some of the negative reviews I read about it said that the number of the card is on the glyph. So you have here Taurus, and the number is on the glyph that says it obscures here, like, you know, the number of the card is on the symbol for Jupiter. And I didn't even notice it until I read it in someone's review. So these stand the test of time, and I haven't had them that long. I've had them, like, I think I got them in 2017, 2018, when they were first out. I think I got them because they're a really good oracle deck. I literally use them as an oracle deck, ask a question, or to round out the reading or something like that. But usually one card will end up summarizing an entire tarot reading, which is something. It's something. It's a really good oracle deck, and I'm glad I hang on to it because I do end up using it a lot. And it's also very good, like the guidebook. Like I said, it's a really good oracle deck. It gives really, really great, like, you could pull one card and it gives you a very profound insight into your question or your concern, right? And even though it's not my art style, not typically what I like in terms of art style, I hang on to it because it's very good. It's very good for learning astrology. It's very good as an oracle deck. So this one stays for that reason. Another one that stays, and this one is more because the art is my art style, is so this one, of course, I'm pretty sure this one's currently still available. The next one is available in a new printing. It's the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. This one just feeds that interest in me of, like, you know, wanting to learn more. This one, I think, though, focuses on the classic planets, right? The 7 classic planets. Don't quote me. You know, sometimes I just say things that may or may not be accurate. I'm human. Anyway, these are the ones that I have. So there's a lot of cards here. This is the ones with these backs. The modern ones have the orange on the back. And the cards are a little thinner. Honestly, I lucked out when I got these. They weren't, what's the word? They weren't, like, highly sought after when I got them. I literally got them on Amazon for what they originally cost. I think they were even secondhand from a Canadian seller or something, bookseller or whatever, and they arrived, and I cut the box and the book were all one piece. I just cut the box part off. I love the vintage look of these cards. And these two work very well as an oracle deck. And also with the added tie-in that it's astrology, which is my gateway interest, my gateway subject into my whole metaphysical lifestyle. All right. And last is, in fact, a golden oldie. It is the first astrological deck I ever purchased, and I don't use it often. It doesn't spoon feed. This is devised by Monty Farber. It's karma cards. I don't know what karma has to do with it. I would have called them astrology cards, or, you know, whatever. Doesn't matter. Oh my God. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here. It's, you know, the book is brittle, and it's that was the cover separating from the book. All right. I keep them in this bag. How apropos, right? And I'm never going to move these on because these were my first ever astrology cards. And it comes, I edged it in, I think I edged it in copper Sharpie just a couple of years ago when I started with the whole deck modifying thing, because the edges were like really grubby and it needed a little freshening up. But this deck comes in, there's 3 parts of this deck. There's planets, signs, and houses. And you basically line up, you shuffle each set, planets, signs, and houses. And then you lay down a card of each, planets, signs, and houses, and you read across the blue section when you're looking for advice, and the red when you're look for insight, and the red for action. And it's not the kind of deck that like when you read across, it doesn't, the sentences sometimes don't make sense. But it for me, what it did, it helped me, it got me to understand what in the 12th house means. It helped me understand how Gemini affects, the effects of an outcome or whatever. How, the signs, the other one is the planets, right? So yeah, sorry, I'm a little distracted, people. I don't live alone. There's other people in my home, and they're whispering. All right. So yeah, so these are still in print. This is the original, and the purple ones were the original printing. Then there was a yellow printing, like where the cards, I don't know if the backs of the cards are yellow, but the book is. And then there was a beigey cream colored, like a natural pale colored edition. Mine is just, and I think they're all the same. And yeah, so that's it. Sorry, I'm distracted, folks. It's like that. Okay. So back to basics. So I'm slipping into another depth here, like slipping into a warm bath, and I'm going to be revisiting astrology from the entranceway, from the front gate, from where I first came into it, through the lens of who I am today, and then in the hopes to rekindle, and I need to rekindle the excitement a little bit, or it's the interest I need to rekindle, because astrology has become so fused with who I am, the way I speak, the way I think, the way I problem solve, that I want to, I just need to freshen it up a little bit. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if I made sense or not, because right now, I don't know. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below if you're so inclined to. Have you been practicing a long time? What was your gateway metaphysical subject? And what's your thoughts on, like, what I'm wanting to do, where just to basically go back to basics and start all over again, but, being unable to unlearn what I already know, see where it leads. All right. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.